Hi everyone, it's Richard Price here. I'm helping Valley Road get started on Microsoft Teams in this period whilst the schools are closed. First of all, let's get straight into it, and the first place you need to go is to teams.microsoft.com. You will then see this screen, and you're going to receive, I think probably on Monday afternoon, an email address, so a pupil's email address and a password. Now that email address is the email address that you will use to gain access to Microsoft Teams. And if it asks you for any credentials within Microsoft Teams, so sometimes it opens some of the other Microsoft applications within Microsoft Teams, you'll use that same pupil's email address to gain access to that. Just a point there to make sure, avoid using any other kind of Microsoft email addresses that you've used for other subscriptions you may already have. So I'm going to use Sophia's email address. oxen.school.uk. Now, when you first click through, it's going to ask you for the password. Hopefully I can remember this one. And it's going to ask you to update the password. It will only ask you to do this once. So I'm going to quickly put in a new password. Confirm it. You can't use the child's name, I don't believe, in this password. Now, what I would recommend is that you do this with them, so that between you, you can, I'm not allowed to say take note, but take note of the password to avoid any issues. If you do have a problem, you can, there'll be an email address provided as part of this collateral to get the password reset, and we'll get it done as quickly as possible. So a little bit about Microsoft Teams first of all. So Microsoft Teams, and kind of what is it? So Microsoft Teams is a platform that brings together different ways of communicating and collaborating. It was originally designed to be used in the workplace, but this is an education version of Microsoft Teams, and we've cut this down to try to provide a secure place for the school to work with the pupils during this period whilst they're not actually at school. Big positive to that is that it centralises it for the school, keeps it hopefully simple, safe and secure. Like I said, it's also very auditable, so anything that's posted here and things, even if it's deleted, can be can be seen by the school, by the teachers, by the kind of admin owners of this. So I want to just call out, please don't stress about this, relax. We will help people with this, and hopefully you can follow this video and it will help you get started. I mentioned my name's Richard. I've got children in years 1 and 3, and there's a few of us who actually work at Microsoft who offered to help Mr. Coulson and the teachers get started. So now I've explained a little bit what Teams is. When you log in, you will see here that there is a Valley Road demo class. Now, if your child is in year 1, it will say the year 1 class. I'm going to click on here. It's the only place that you can click, and this takes you into the team. Now, I'm just going to scroll to the top. One of the things you'll notice, it's got down here, and I've got an extra large cursor today to help you see, is notifications. So I would recommend turning these on. What it will mean is that when the teachers post things, and the teacher in this demo is Mr. Bryce, he or she you'll see notifications coming through. So first thing to call out is the General tab. Now I'm going to keep emphasizing this, because if you ever get lost within Microsoft Teams, click on Teams, click on the Valley Road team or the year 1, year 2, whatever it is, and go to the General tab. Okay, this is a one-way communication from the teacher. It's in chronological order, so the top is the start, and it takes you back in whenever you open it up at the point at which you last looked. So if there's things you haven't read, i.e. you've logged in for the first time that morning, it will take you to that point. And I'm going to run you through a day in a life, kind of what Mr. Price is posting here. Now, this example is kind of like a year 6, like a bit of an extreme example of what you could do. And we've worked with the school to really think about how we could use a single platform that will be at 1 in the scale for kind of reception children. It's probably just a one-way communication. Let parents have some content. and a way of kind of communicating and sharing some videos and things with the children, through to year 6, where actually they can really engage in this. It's a much more immersive experience, and it allows them hopefully to stay as close to the curriculum as possible. The other channel, so I mentioned this is a one-way communication. The other channel here is the parent and pupil class chat. Now, as that says, that is a two-way communication. It's, just to be clear, it's the whole of the school can see, whole of the class can see this, and that's a good point actually. Each class is kind of has a boundary around it. So in receiving this kind of team, you'll receive the year 1 team for that pupil, and they can only access that part of Microsoft Teams. So their teacher can work with them, but they can't access the year 6 class. However, this channel here is where you can ask questions, and it's not an extended WhatsApp group. It's about asking questions in context of what the teachers are setting and how they're working with the children. Now, in the years probably 4, 5, and 6, this will be the children asking questions and getting replies. And you can see here that Mr. Price has replied through to probably in reception and the infant school, where actually it's going to be the parents communicating a little bit with the teacher. Going back to general, and again, as I said, always the starting point. I want to just show you some of the other places where you can go, where you can navigate. Now, along the top here, it always defaults to posts. So this is where the teacher has posted things. The files, it is effectively a file store. However, as you'll see down here, whenever the teacher posts some material like this facts about China, in actual fact, I'll just open it to show you. It opens this PDF file in context of Teams. It doesn't break out into another another platform or open another window or anything. And you can see that you can close this, but that file will also be stored under files. However, I don't recommend you really need to worry too much about that one. The class notebook, assignments and grades. Grades is linked to assignments. I'll come back to in a second. I just want to go one step back actually. Down here on the left-hand side, you'll see that I've opened Teams within a browser, which is the way to get to start with. However, I would really recommend that you, if you're using a device where there is a download option, so any tablet or any phone, and phones and tablets are a good example, so iPads, any phone, Android phone, iOS, etc., there will be a Microsoft Teams app. If you search in the store, you can then log in with the pupil's credentials and allow them to use that. I'm using a PC here, so it's got a download icon, and one I prepared earlier. If I just flick across, I've actually logged in as Josh Price here, and this is the full fat application. So you'll see it just takes away a bit of the noise around it being within an internet browser, and it just keeps it very focused. There's no different in functionality, and if I flip between the two, you'll see that there is absolutely no difference in the kind of look and feel. So once you've got the hang of this, it's very familiar no matter what device you're working on. On that point of devices, you can use, like I mentioned, kind of any device with a browser to get you started. It doesn't have to be a PC, it can be a Mac. And the other thing I'm going to call out is over here on the top right hand side, you can see SP Sphere Price I'm logged in as. If you click here, it gives you the option to sign out. Now that's going to be important if, for example, you're already a Teams user for work or something, and you need to log out and let somebody else log in, i.e. the pupil, or if you've got multiple children at the school, then you will obviously need to use that functionality, because each child, even if they're in the same class, I think there's twins and things like that, they will be set assignments and things in context of their email address and login. One final point on the login, the email address is just being used as identity. So although there is ways for them to get access to other Microsoft programs through this, the focus of the school is going to be to provide all communication and the teacher setting assignments and tasks and things through Microsoft Teams, as opposed to, they will not be sending emails to children or anything like that. Communication is one-way communication in this channel through Teams. The email address is just used for what we call identity, so just to gain access to the Microsoft Teams and to the other parts of Microsoft Teams within some of the tasks that get set. One idea is, if you do have multiple devices in the household, then actually you can kind of set one up in one device, one up in the other. Even if you've got a PC and an iPad, one could do one could do the other, and it saves lots of logging in, logging out. But the other way, and some of the questions we've had when we ran the sessions in school is around, when is this content going to be available, and how do I manage this? What if I'm not around? How do I catch up? It's a bit work in progress. The teachers are having a training on the first Monday that the school breaks up, and then they're going to sort of set some guidelines, and they'll communicate through this and start providing content for the children to work with. And I think they'll get into a rhythm then themselves as to what works best, but they will try to set that kind of up front for the day, and then the whole point, though, is that they can interact with the children throughout the day where that is available. We know that this is kind of unprecedented times. Not everyone's going to be able to do this. Not everyone's going to be able to help children all the time. But hopefully once a day or a couple of times a day, you can find some time and work through and make sure that they've had this and just support that kind of academic regime. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a day in a life. Like I mentioned, and I've mocked this up as Mr. Price, the teacher. So you can see, hi, welcome to Teams. The first assignment has been set here. Good morning, Valley Road demo class. Today, I would like you to research China. Show me your research in the class notebook. And when you're done, complete your first assignment for 3 points. So the points is all about gamifying and just making it a bit more exciting. You'll see when I hover over, I'm given the option to give some smiley faces. And obviously, this is great content that Mr. Price has provided. So I'm going to give him a thumbs up. I've clicked on the fact sheet, but this teacher has kindly also given some places for the kids to go and have a look at some facts. So they're kind of helped research, but there's no reason why the kids can't go and do this themselves as well. If I click on the assignment, it's the same as clicking on assignments up here, and it takes me through, and this is the first time we've seen one of these tabs. It takes me through here where I can see the assignments that have been set. Before I'm going to do that, I'm just going to show you the class notebook, which is where the children work. Now, a little quick tip here is when you open the notebook, there's a little arrow here that opens up kind of the index. And we're going to work with the teachers on this as to what it looks like. For year 6, it will look very different to kind of the infant school. In this one, like I said, kind of set up for year 6, you've got a collaboration space where anybody within the class can work, and people can work in teams and things, or the teacher can set tasks in teams. The content library is where the teacher can add content, and it's only the teacher that can edit this section, and kindly they've provided some China material. And then logged in as Sophia can work in her own notebook. She can't see other people's notebooks, she can't see other people's work under here, but the teacher can obviously behind this see all of everyone's work. And one of the points of this platform is, and Teams is, from an education standpoint, it gives them a really simple way of quickly providing feedback, quickly marking work, quickly reviewing it, so that they can then move on to setting new tasks and things. And I'm just going to click on the China topic, and you'll see that Sophia has done some fantastic work here, although I'm a little bit suspicious, as you'll see down here, that she's done a little bit of plagiarizing from the internet. So I will be having a word with her later. I'm just going to, like I said, if you're ever stuck, always click back on the general tab, and it will take you back to kind of where you were. But we had that assignment to complete. So I'm going to click on assignments and click on this China quiz. So it says, have a go at this quiz and see if the research you did helps. So let's have a go. And again, these are really easy for the teachers to set up, to all about kind of reinforcing learning. And this doesn't have to be a quiz like this. There's all different varieties of forms and other things teachers can use to set tasks like this. But it gives them kind of a stake in the ground in terms of seeing who's doing what and where they're at, and potentially testing and challenging the children. So I'm going to quickly have a go at this one, and I'm going to go with that, and eventually this will be marked by the teacher. So you can see that I've submitted that. If I view the results, you can see straight away I'm getting some feedback. This one's a free form, so the teacher has to mark it, so it won't be there yet. But when they do, what happens is, and I believe I've got one that I prepared earlier, under grades, I can have a look at how I've been doing. I've done the China assessment a couple of times, but you can see here I only got 1 out of 3 the previous time. Again, under assignments, you can actually see ones that you've completed. And I'm going to pick one of these other ones because I think there is some feedback against this one. Already submitted. Let me just try the other one. Apologies. So you can see here, why don't you have another look at the internet? The teacher's given some feedback, and overall, great work, Sophia. So yes, you can see that there is the ability for teachers to provide feedback. So again, just to emphasize, if you ever get stuck, go to Teams, back into your team and onto the General tab, and then you can sort of look at the next post from the teacher. Now, if you get stuck, just to demonstrate, and you can see here that Sophia asked a question about needing to learn about history, and Mr. Price kindly provided some feedback. Now, the good thing there is, if the teacher has made a mistake or there's something obvious or something that isn't obvious, I should say, then in actual fact, the teacher can kind of answer that. And, probably if you've got the same question as 30 other parents, it's already been answered and you can kind of see it in context of what's going on. Clicking back into General and just continuing this day, you will see that I just gave an example here because Mrs. Canan, we've got some practice sites, and she this was a post that she put about the year ones who've just planted a bean, taking some photos of it. Again, a great way for them to interact, and I'm sure there's lots of other work they could be set around that, around artwork and measuring it and all those kind of things, and set assignments around that as well as just staying in touch with them and keeping it relevant. I've put a post here about doing some PE and getting active. And again, I've asked them to use the class notebook. So let's just have a quick look at that. So again, clicking on the class notebook. And again, in the younger years, this is going to be simplified with less tabs and only very relevant tabs for them. And some of these other ones, the collaboration space and things, will be removed. So if I click on class notes, one I prepared earlier, Sophia's already popped a note there about enjoying PE. So fantastic, well done, Sophia. Back to General, and just continuing this to show you the various parts. You can see here that getting towards the end of the day now, and actually before we do that one, there is this post here from the teacher. My fruit bowl's looking empty. I've sent you an assignment to draw a fruit bowl. Looking forward to seeing your artwork. So again, there's an assignment. So you can either click here or click on assignments to see the assignments that the pupil hasn't done yet. You can see that there's this draw your fruit bowl example. There's some reference material, so that's just a picture of the fruit bowl, and there is 2 points available. So I'm just going to show you a little bit here about how you add work in. So there's a couple of options here. Now, if and this is where a mobile phone and a tablet is really good, because the apps then are connected to the camera. I'm using a PC and it's not quite built in the same way, but if you go to upload from device down the bottom here, hit on mine, it's going to open this window, whereas on your iPad or other tablet and phones, it's going to have the option to take a picture, and that's a really good way of taking a picture of artwork or handwriting or any free writing the children have done, or if you've printed out worksheets or anything else. That's probably the simplest way to get pictures and things into here. The alternative would be, as you saw, to upload from this device and save the picture of the fruit bowl. I'm going to just steal this one, but it could have been a picture I've taken earlier and just saved it as a file. I will then post this, and I can then turn this in. So, and you can see that the child is rewarded there with some ice cream. Fantastic. Back to General. So that's that piece done. The teacher can then assess those and can give feedback, and that's how you do that. Just going back into that, there are other ways as well to complete that work. What I'm going to do, I'm going to jump across here, which is just the client version of Teams. So I've downloaded the app as opposed to using it in a browser. So I'm now just logged in as Josh, and I'm just going to go back to that assignment. and show you just some other options. Now, we could pretend that this assignment wasn't drawing a fruit bowl, it was writing an essay. And if I go to add work, and this is just probably one of the nuances people just need to get used to. If you add a file, you can add any of these files and it opens Word. And so let's call it writing, attach, it opens Word. And when I click on this file then, it opens Word within Teams. So hopefully this has been familiar to lots of you if you've used Word before, and it's been familiar to the children. They use this at school, on the school computers, and then they can do some work here. Now, again, if it's an essay or writing, they don't have to do this. They can also, if it's easier, do it, or use pen and paper. Obviously, great practice as well. And then you can upload it by taking a photo to share it back to the teacher. If they're more tech savvy or more comfortable with this, the older children, actually, it's great practice for them as well. And there is the ability to draw and do all sorts of things on here. Pointed out earlier on as well, there's also, and I don't know whether we do or don't want to point this out to children, there's also a dictate function which can help them as well. However, it doesn't put punctuation and things in, so they still need to review it and work on it. But I'd encourage them to type. I think it's good practice. This is. There's no save button here. Everything within Teams kind of automatically saves and is designed to all work together really intuitively. So you just close this, and again, once you've completed that assignment, you can hand it in. Oh, there you go. Another well done, Josh. So jumping back to Sophia, I should do it here. So if I go to the general tab again, just to reinforce, whenever you've finished and you don't know where you're going and you want to go back to the main page, it's clicking on this general tab. And we've done this one, so we're down here now. Great work today, class. A little update from me. So I'm going to click on this video and fingers crossed.
Well done, guys. Great job today on your first day working and learning at home. Really impressed with the work on China. Really impressed with the creative writing. I'll give you some feedback. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Don't forget to do some reading this evening. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so just an example of some of the ways the teachers can communicate. They can post videos. There's another end of the scale, and the whole point here is we're starting perhaps slowly to build confidence, and we've tried to make this as simple as possible. And I think once people navigate around this, they'll pick it up hopefully very quickly. There'll be some questions, which is fine. We can post more videos if there's lots of people are having challenges. We'll post a quick video to help you with any issues. You saw there about the reading, and again, if I just click on the class notebook, I'm logged on as Josh here. And again, just to remind you about that tip to, once it opens, to open up the menu. So into Josh's piece here, a sort of segment of the notebook. So think of it as their workbook at school. And you can see there's a reading diary, and it just gives them the ability. So it's the 20th of March today. And Josh can just write a few notes. I read 10 pages. Etc, etc. Okay, so and again, this just automatically saves. If you click somewhere else, if you go back to posts or back to general, it does that itself. So a couple of recaps for you. The general tab is a one-way communication from the teacher, setting assignments, providing content, providing ideas. They won't necessarily all be have assets with them, but it could be go and do this, go and measure that. And some of it will be, and there'll be some quite clear guidance around working either in the class notebook for the older ones or completing an assignment, and that might be with the child, or it might be actually just quickly, hopefully, uploading some of the things that they've done so that they can stay as close to school as possible. Things like videos will be in there to help it be as immersive as possible. And you'll see there is a calendar. There won't be anything in the calendar. In today's calendar, I have set up, actually earlier on today, there was a lesson about China. And this does, when the teacher instigates this, then the children can't, to be clear. When they join, it does provide a kind of full video kind of conferencing facility. And so if this goes on for longer, teachers will have the ability, if they decide that's what they need to do, to kind of set some lessons and kind of work in a virtual classroom for the older ones. But equally, it could be one way. They can kind of record these sessions and then let the children watch them back at their own pace. But it gives them that opportunity to interact. So that is everything I wanted to go through today. If there's any questions, on the email that you received, there'll be an email address with kind of the support for Microsoft Teams type email address, which drop us some comments or feedback. There are lots of additional features and things that I haven't shown today within these apps down here, which again we're not encouraging to use at the moment. There are some educational apps that eventually the teachers might be able to bring in, and lots of other content that they can use. So hopefully it'll be a really good forum and a really good method for the school, and hopefully moving forward to use this platform even after the coronavirus challenges. But in the meantime, it's a great opportunity for the children to get really savvy on the technology, and a great way for the teachers to communicate with you in a central and secure way. Thanks very much. Look forward to catching up soon.